Hi, my name's Phil. I like to talk about politics, and in this video I'd like to discuss the news that the government have lost a court case centred around the identity of companies who found themselves on the so-called VIP lane, a system which the Tories use to corruptly reward friends and donors with eye-watering sums of public money, the vast majority of which was completely wasted, and often at the expense of British lives as well as money. But first, for daily political commentary, please hit the subscribe button to stay notified. So, it's all go on the VIP lane front. And a quick one today, just to kick off Sunday, with some very interesting news on the Tory COVID fraud front. So a few years ago, journalist Jenna Corduroy made a Freedom of Information request for the names of all companies referred to the VIP lane, which more officially known as the high priority lane, as well as those who referred them. Now, this was the scam set up by the Tories to give people with no experience of medical equipment procurement huge contracts to deliver much needed medical PPE. Almost all of the equipment was overpriced, and a lot of it was unfit for purpose, meaning frontline health and care staff could not protect themselves or others from unnecessary infections. This has led to a lot of unnecessary deaths and a lot of long COVID still affecting us today. And of course, the biggest cohort of people affected by this are those frontline health and care staff. The High Court ruled this scheme unlawful on the basis it gave preferential treatment to those companies referred to the scheme, which was organised by the Cabinet Office run by Michael Gove at the time. It is how, for example, Michelle Mone used her personal contacts with the Conservative government to get contracts for the newly formed PPE MedPro, one of the companies where nobody involved had any experience of procuring medical supplies. But the government refused to release the names of anyone involved in referring, except where contracts were awarded, because obviously that would have been impossible to hide. But it's important to know the identity of everyone that was involved in this shadowy scheme in order to get an overall picture of just how corrupt it was. And after years of legal battles, a judge has now said that the government has 35 days to hand over the names of these companies. Several former ministers were giving evidence to the COVID inquiry about the VIP lane in the last week and been very evasive about a lot of the details. Now, if they think it was such a marvellous device, and as Hancock suggested, something a future government should absolutely use for the next pandemic emergency, then why be shy about how it works in detail? After all, it will be for others to run the next one if we lose our sanity and decide to repeat the scheme, which cost about £13 billion, with about £10 billion of it being completely wasted, linked to equipment that we could not use. What happens next may be interesting after all. One of the questions is, so why was this final hearing even needed? Now, when Labour came to power last summer, the Conservative government just before them had quite a few legal challenges ongoing. I mean, governments always have legal challenges ongoing, right? People are always taking the government to court, sometimes rightly, sometimes not. And Labour dropped some of them, such as, for example, the review over the Cumbrian coal mine. The Labour government came in and straight away said, yep, that was illegal. So why didn't the Labour government drop their objections to this challenge and just hand over the information? Maybe they didn't want to be accused of politically motivated point scoring. Knowing that the government arguments were bogus, maybe they were happy to let it run its course so that a judge could then say, no, you've got to hand these over. And then Labour could just go, oh, well, we're just complying with a court order, and not be accused of a Trump-style abuse of executive powers in settling political scores. Or maybe they are conscious of unintended consequences for the information coming out, although I can't really imagine what they are. Either way, at some point over the next few weeks, the now Labour-run Cabinet Office and Department for Health and Social Care have to deal with a court order that says, yeah, you need to hand over the names of all companies who are referred to the VIP lane, as I say, more officially known as the high priority lane. The judgment doesn't seem to say that the government have to hand over the names of those who referred them, only, as I read it, a statement in response to that request. But unless there's something I'm unaware of, you would think the current government would be more than happy to shine more daylight onto this sordid business. After all, they are currently trying to recoup some of the billions of pounds defrauded from the public purse. And if they thought this disclosure could prejudice that action, they would have submitted that argument to the judge. But I mean, the government are going after those who were awarded the dodgy contracts. This Freedom of Information request is about those who were not. And Good Law Project did highlight one problem early this year. several of the companies which sprang up out the ground in 2020 in order to bid for these contracts. Remember, PPE MedPro only formed in May 2020, at the time the government were handing these contracts out. And some of these companies have now shut down. They only ever existed to grab a slice of the cake. You know, the whole thing stinks. And if the government want to kick up a stink about the way the Tories ran things, I would say maybe leave the £22 billion black hole alone for now. You know, people have got the message there. Maybe focus on the £10 billion black hole in the procurement budget, which left countless people dead, lots of nurses with long-term health problems, and the rest of us with, I mean, you know, we could use with 10 billion quid, couldn't we? But I'll be keeping my eye on this one over the next few weeks. I've linked the Substack in the description below, written by the campaigners leading this one, which does include a copy of the court judgment if you want to read that yourself as well. But there we are. Keep your eye on this one. Those are my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments below. If you've enjoyed the video, please click the like button and subscribe for further content. If you'd like to support the channel further, you can click the join button for memberships. Thanks for watching. And until next time, I'll see you later.